I'm kind of taking out AI completely from the whole equation, what I'm talking about today. It's called Life from the Store. It's not only about selling, I would say. It's in general showing people what we do when the creative process has come to an end. Then someone needs to look at it, and you can do the best stuff if nobody knows it. And we come from a time, and I will explain a little bit why I talk about this and why this has become a question for me. So my name is Andreas Felsl, as he said already. I'm the founder of Horage Watches. It's a company in Switzerland, in Biel. What do we do? We make watches, not easy, or easy to spot with 2 watches on a wrist. And we also do jewelry watches. As you can see, of course, technology is involved, like lab-grown, high quality, super high-end stuff. We do regular rings, but basically we are a hardcore high-performance watch company. Some people know where most of the watches of this planet are made, or at least most of the revenue comes from. It's Biel. It's in the middle of Switzerland, heartland of watchmaking, and we have started the company in 2009. What are we talking about, really? I heard a lot of things. I mean, there are a lot of retail infrastructure here in this show. It's a retail show. We were just hearing before, should there consumers be coming in? People very often misunderstand when a company is doing direct business, then they always say it's an online shop. But that's just one thing. And most of the brands I see and companies who have retail infrastructure, they believe they make an online shop and then someone is buying something. That's not the case. You need to explain what you are selling, and it's better that you do that in a way, in a modern way, and that there's technology involved, and that you create an experience. That's what we effectively are, and we are in the business of experiences. And sometimes you have boutiques. That is our legacy, all of our legacy. Some other companies like Audemars Piguet, they went into something like a clubhouse model, I would say. They took over their distribution. Not everybody liked that, but that was a cause of the events. And now I talk about something which I call video live. You know, we all watch TV, and why not doing that out of a store or out of any place, anywhere? And then there are other people who can join this, which we call concierges. So why video and why live? We are talking about artificial intelligence before, so I'm trying to make the stretch between Eve and what I do. And people get increasingly suspicious on if things are real. And there's one thing which is not so easy to fake, and that's a human being talking in a camera to someone. And that's why live has become such an interesting part in our way of selling and showing products. And that came together during COVID. I mean, we all know that show was closed at the end of the day. Most of the stores were closed. And we started to use Instagram, Live, Twitter, whatever, you know, with the phone. And then you found out that the camera, and then you need the light and all this kind of stuff. So it was really a game-changing event. And I think, even though we don't wear any masks anymore, there's still this kind of feeling that this is here to stay. You know, post-COVID is something else than before COVID. Some people didn't get it yet, but it is like this. Because everybody, and that's my father is able to open a meeting link. I personally did that since 15 years when Skype came into our life. I was working together with an engineering team in Taiwan, and we always had screen sharing. It was totally normal to show what I see to someone else. And corporate Germany and all kind of companies said, you cannot do that because you get hacked and everything is dangerous. And then out of a sudden, the people are sitting at home and said, shit, I can't go out, I need to wear a mask. How do I communicate? And in stores, and I have been heavily involved in retail with another company before, the stores were closed. And sometimes the people didn't even know how to talk to their clients, which they thought they know. But it came what we then realized is that a brand or some kind of business is some kind of composed of, I call it a global community, especially during COVID. People started to communicate across borders because they had time, sitting in a phone. And it became increasingly clear that these store environments or the local environments where we were so proud of our foot traffic were technically incapable of doing simple communication. But this changed, and out of a sudden people started to communicate, chatting with all kinds of systems, and Teams and Skype and Messenger and everything came around. And video chat was effectively the advanced version of just doing a little bit of WhatsApp. And it became this window of communicating. And with something becoming an emerging trend, of course, hardware developed, software developed during this time because people made a business out of it and it became available for everybody. And we used that. And I said, and I just asked a question, does anybody not talk to clients through WhatsApp or partners? I mean, there might be some people, but I guess most of the people use tools like this. And the question now is, how do you take this to a next level? So how could you use your existing phone, your existing infrastructure where you anyhow talk to the people and start a live conversation on a relatively high quality level? Because after a while, you recognize that your phone, which you have in the pocket, is probably not good enough, and the light is not good enough, and you want to sell something much more advanced, and it doesn't really reflect the quality which is coming out on the other side of the phone. So I'm talking about something which we want to do anywhere, anytime, and it should be authentic. Yeah, it shouldn't be. There's video equipment over there. There's a room full of people with equipment, and they're actually streaming me live, I guess, to the website. You probably do not want to have all that in your store because you can't pay for that. That's a little bit too much investment for selling a watch. I mean, some watches are expensive enough to do that, but basically you want to switch it on, and you want to have a high quality environment to show what you have been creating. Or what you want to sell. And very important, I think that is a result of the requested quality. You want to have this high resolution. So also Google and Facebook streaming became increasingly more powerful because there was better algorithms to compress files, better fiberglass lines and things like this. And I recognized, and I had nothing to do with photography or cameras. And then my guys told me, Andy, forget your phone. You need really big lenses. You need light-strong cameras because only then you will get some very good imagery out of that. And that started our journey into this. How do you actually, by a push button, start a video live stream on your desk studio, I call it. So that's basically my workplace in my office. A lot of screens, a lot of lights, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit what you need to put this together. And according to my knowledge today, it looks like a YouTube studio, but it is not really like any other YouTube studio because I operate it completely by myself. I go live in a show, press a button, and we talk, and I switch cameras, and there's no team, nobody behind me who is actually doing things for me. I don't want to take that guys' jobs, but I see that there's a lot of small businesses who need this environment. So what did I buy? I had a camera, of course, a laptop. I'm a friend of laptops. Stuff needs to be portable. Nobody needs big boxes. You need a good internet connection. You need a USB hub to connect a couple of screens, and you need screens. I'm a big fan of screens. In front of my desk, there's 4 screens. Lights, that's the hard part. There's a lot of lights, and watches are horrible to put under camera because everything is reflecting. And you don't want to have on the other side someone getting blind because the spot is reflecting. Sound, I call it messy. Everybody who has to deal with sound, especially the guys in the box there, they know that. Sometimes it doesn't work and you don't know why the hell it doesn't work or it sounds like shit. So you really need to reduce that, and there's some simple Rode microphones which you can buy online, cost 230 Swiss francs, and you are good to set. And then there comes the costly part, the cameras. I started with this camera, EOS M200. That was the cheapest camera at this time with a clean HDMI out, HMDI, there's a mistake. So what does that mean? Cameras usually have a display and there's some stuff written. And you don't want to see that stuff on your computer when you stream it. So you need HDMI clean out. And these cameras are now standard, but when we started, it was not so standard. This camera has a good lens, and this camera already gives me some pretty good imagery. Then we have another camera, which I will show later, is a desktop reading camera, which you use for teaching. You put a paper underneath, but you can do other things with this. And recently I bought a bunch of AI cameras which are following me. So it's an OpSpot Hong Kong company, and you put them in front of you and you're saying, hey, I'm here, and then the camera is following you. So you can also do walking things with that. And then there's something, I also have a Blackmagic, a pretty professional camera, which with a very long lens, you will see a shot from that on the other side. And then there's some other stuff like switch decks and some buttons which you press because you don't have someone who's pressing the button for you, so you need to do that by yourself quickly. Yeah, and the setup, it's a desk, you know, surprise, just a desk, a couple of screen holders from Amazon, cheap, and a backdrop, because backdrops are important. The light, it makes you just look much better in front of the camera when you have a real camera. And I do not use my laptop camera to film myself because these cameras are not very good and I want to look good in that situation. And one thing is extremely important at the end of the day, that was the OBS studio. That is effectively, and I guess probably the guys are using that, I don't know, that is a professional freeware at the end of the day streaming software where you effectively can build a TV channel with that. And yeah, you download it and you look at a couple of YouTube things, and then you learn how to do that and connect your cameras, and that's how it works. And I use a couple of PowerPoint slides. So everything is relatively okay. So what type of output, or where do I stream to? Everybody's talking about YouTube. Yeah, that's YouTube, but you can also use the same thing and talk to just one person in a Skype call. So you generate effectively a virtual camera, and then you use that to do some live consulting with a client, probably somewhere in Boston, which I had several times, showing them watches, and then they get a very, very real feeling of what we are talking about. Yeah, space. It's not very space consuming. That was also my target because we are a small company. I don't have so much space for a big TV studio, but now I will build myself one, a really big one with 3 different spots where we have desk situation and this kind of stuff. And the basic approach was I go in there, switch on my computer, have my watch there, I know who I want to talk to, press a button, press another button, light on, and we start. And then effectively I get something which you are streaming right now into the Inhorgenta website. 5 square meters is enough. Probably everybody has a small cave where you can put a desk and do that. And that's how we started and professionalized more or less this whole system. That looks very, in German, zusammengebastelt, I would say, but it's doing the job. And that is the main point. When I asked the streaming professionals, nobody could tell me how to run by myself a TV studio. But I needed to do that because I didn't have enough cash to pay all the people. So the whole approach was, how do I arrange a couple of screens, a little bit of software, a little bit of light, and several cameras, in this case 4, in a way that I can start and operate that continuously as a team. And my second thought was, could we do that in a way that I can give this to someone else somewhere on the planet and say, well, run your own studio, here's my product, you take care of that in another language, in another time zone. So we are really doing that because we think that this kind of studio setup can be a channel out of a physical space into the world and extending the reach of a shop, which we all know is limited. From the top, it looks like this. It's just a table. So you can see there's a screen on the left, upright. Why upright? Because I can put more programs on the left side. Then there's a middle screen and a right screen where I present, where I see what I'm showing actually. And a couple of PowerPoint slides on the right side here. There's also a portable camera system which I can walk around. It can go through and stream into that stream just like that. And the watches are lying underneath a projector camera, and there's another camera on the right. So, and all that stuff is put together and wired up. Yeah? In the best possible case, I recommend to do just 2 circuits, on-off light, on-off the rest, because you do not always need full lighting, but you need the rest of your computer's work. And if you pull the plug, computers don't want to be just switched off. So a 2-circuit design, and you get creative. Yeah, what else is there? I would say there's one way of putting cameras together is in a software way, so with OBS, so the cameras are mixed together, and there's another way with this Blackmagic switchboard, and you just press a button, like they have a lot of buttons in there, and now this camera, now this camera, now this camera, and you can mix things a little bit together. So I'm mixing this together, and I'm using this USB hub to plug in all my screens. And to the right side, then you see actually what is underneath that desktop projector. And that is a pretty seriously sharp image. And the problem now came that we had so sharp images that the people were seeing my dirty fingernails and and the dust in the watch, which is a complete nightmare, and the irregularities of printing of a calendar disc. Out of a sudden, you are on the other side of the pond, there's someone sitting on the computer and say, is that normal? And I said, yeah, but it's a high resolution because the guy was sitting in front of his TV with a Chromecast and had such a big watch in front of him. And I was in the corner there, and we are talking live, this can be done live. That's just another look from it, from the top. And that's pretty much what you get. You get relatively sharp images, which you then can also use and move around. And that means you cannot fake this. There is zero way to fake a conversation like this. People on the other side understand that you are real. And this creates an experience, and I would say, for example, that is a front shot with a Blackmagic camera, and my finger just pointing around. And last time another customer asked me, can you lay up the other dial? Because I didn't have the watch in this other dial, and then I brought in the dial from the inventory and put it beside. And then, can you bring a couple of hands and put them in there? And then I see the camera, and I made a screenshot, send it through Skype, and said, think about it now. Call me back when you have made your decision. And he bought this combination. So what I want to say is, I think we can create customer experiences which you're probably not even able to create in a regular store environment, because you can also talk to more than one person. We all know how selling watches and jewelry works. There's a person sitting on a desk, and then there's another one waiting. But you could probably also create rooms and things like this together, where you then show this real life, super high resolution, high quality experience and have a real conversation with the people. One of the most important things, also software free, I would say, is I'm also mixing PowerPoint presentations. That's my presentation actually, which I'm right now holding, into that whole equation. And we also can bring in other people. So we have made live streams to personal people with an expert technician. I can imagine that we talk with a retail partner and our engineers and another person in Shanghai in one and the same call about the same watch in front of us, or the watch which is just in Singapore because we didn't have it right now here. So what we can do is we can show in reality where is our inventory, how does it look like, who has it, does anybody have any clue about it, and also teach people on that. It's not just about selling, I mean, when you see stuff, you can tell people what it is. And in this way, just to give you a little bit of an idea, this program, which is called OBS, is pretty much that's what I'm streaming. There's a round thing. You can move that stuff around during streaming. So I'm also changing when you go to our YouTube channel, Orage Swiss. You will see me relatively often live, and then you will see pictures moving around. So during the stream, actually, I'm changing the scenes, but I can also have preset screens like a guest vertical. So there's a guest from David from Glasgow in there, or black magic face. This means black magic face would be a picture like that. There's actually the black magic streaming and my face is to the bottom. So I'm pre-building these situations in order to be able to quickly change that whole thing. And I have all these kind of other things which I can mix together, a display capture. It is really crazy what you can do, and you do not need to be an expert. You know, I have no clue about image processing. I have no clue about all that stuff. I just try to plug together a couple of screens and things like this and do the very simple stuff. And then I start and press a button. That's it. I'm really not a tech professional. When we do not talk a one-to-one personal chat, like a person which I sold watches, I think roughly 30,000 Swiss francs to a person in Boston. So we are talking about high checkout value. Then we can also stream into a live YouTube show, for example. Of course, the problem with YouTube is people cannot talk to us, they write. So I need to actually have on the right side this backstream coming in so that I can instantly answer questions. And that's what we are doing. We are also not fixing our presentation. We are instantly responding to people what they say because they have questions. Yeah, do you have a green hand or do you have a blue hand, or can you show again the watch from the backside with the movement? So this is something which gives incredible authenticity. As I said, price is not a limiting factor in my opinion. People always instantly say online, direct, whatever means cheap. No, that is for sure not the case. I'm 100% sure it is possible to sell also a watch for 500,000 like that. I'm 100% sure. The watch in the middle is close to that price, by the way. Is only one of them which we made. But it's absolutely possible to create a high quality streaming situation where the person on the other side feels taken care of, like you sit in a room. It's just big screens in between, but it's real. So what did we achieve? Because I'm coming to the end now. What did we achieve? Number one point was stream without a production team. Nothing against the production guys, but we are in a store and we do not have the money or the resources to run a team like a brand, like a Rolex or whatever. We also start the whole thing by pushing one button, press the button, and we start creating a virtual camera. We have a high resolution hardy feeling. That is super important because pixely pictures don't create good feelings, so you want really good resolution for that. You can do extreme macro viewing, so you can do it so much that you actually hurt yourself. It depends on the camera and the lens you're using. We have multi-angle view possibilities, so I can turn around things because the cameras are from the top, from the front, from there, and from wrist shot, the most important shot in watches. We have multimedia integration, so additionally what we do, for example, when we have no time to walk around, I make a quick movie with my phone and then I can stream that additionally while talking to that and use that. It's relatively low cost and it has a very small footprint, so it fits in the corner of a place, for example. And we have this guest integration thing, which is super important for advanced technical advice, bring in the watchmaker or this kind of things. And when this happens, customer is super happy. Last but not least, what is useful for? I think you can imagine it's useful for a lot of things. But there's one difference to a store situation is that you can actually, we see that people are very comfortable in front of screens at home. They're relaxed. So they have no problem to share that experience with others in the group. And so this means you can actually multiply your sales effort just by splitting it to some groups. Very often the people forget, for example, how it looked in the store. You can do that again. The customer rethink problem, I call it. Think about it again and I come back tomorrow. Tomorrow is bad. I call you tomorrow, show you again. It's better. Or the shy customers who don't want to go in stores, or how did it look like? Forgot problem is another thing which we very often see. And I think especially in store environments, we have very often low foot traffic times where we probably could use this time to let some of the people in the store reach out to a global community and do that. Yeah, and I think also where it is highly interesting, we have been just going through the pre-owned disaster. People recognize that probably the pre-owned world is not as big as the new watch sales world, and that it comes with a heavy cost problem. When you do it like this, put the reused watch under that screen and you show that is how it really looks. You don't need to make post-processing. You don't need to do anything. You just show that Rolex with that scratch how it is and you sell it like that. So it can really help, especially in this pre-owned world where you have a used watch and someone is interested and doesn't know how it looks like, if it's still okay, there you can show it without any resistance, I would say. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about. And if there's any question, let me know.